The Motion Picture Academy of the United States introduced the concept of restricted rating when many complaints started coming in about the violence shown in certain movies, bringing attention to the kind of movies exposed to children. Better known as the R rating, children under 17 would have to be accompanied by parents to view such movies. Most thought this rating would restrict box office numbers for such films, but what's forbidden always attracts attention, and that's how we got some of the best movies so far. Here we're sharing the ranking of 20 of the best R-rated movies of all time in a top-down approach. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
But now you come to me and you say...
Godfather, 1972. Francis Ford Coppola brilliantly directed and co-wrote this movie based on Mario Puzo's, also credited for the screenplay, book. It has a splendid list of first-of-its-kind moments, making it the best-told story in cinematic history. It had a stellar cast, led by thespians Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, Robert Duvall, Diane Keaton, and James Caan, whose outstanding performances made this movie what it is today. The famous opening scene of a hapless father wanting justice for his daughter's rapist as he sits across the underworld's kingpin, Don Vito Corleone, sets the tone of the movie, coupled with the haunting background score by Nina Rota. Gordon Willis's dark cinematography is exquisite and uses special camera angles, lighting, and frames for each character to highlight their traits and conflicts, exemplifying the tonality of the narrative. This epic gangster film opened with a grand premiere at the Low State Theater in New York City on March 24, 1972. It opened to rave reviews and won many prestigious awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Supporting Actor awards. Surprisingly, the movie was considered a slow burner, taking 18 weeks to reach $100 million, and gradually went on to gross close to $291 million. It remained the highest-grossing film for a very long time. This Paramount Pictures produced movie gave birth to a cult, the world of the mafia viewed from the inside. It remains a bible of filmmaking for every filmmaker and a masterpiece for every cinemagoer who experienced the charm and glorification of the underworld like never before. Pulp Fiction, 1994. Directed and written by one of the most stylish filmmakers, Quentin Tarantino, Pulp Fiction is best known for its unique story structure that follows four intertwined stories of two hitmen, a boxer, a gangster, his wife, and two robbers. The movie's opening shows a sparring couple in a diner who suddenly cock their guns and rob the restaurant, giving a lead-in for the narrative to move from one story to another. Co-written by Roger Avery, the movie's dialogues are laced with humor and irony that align with its genre, a black comedy. The casting, a coup of sorts, with John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman, and Bruce Willis, provides a masterclass in acting with foot-tapping music that was an assortment of American rock and roll and pop put together by Tarantino himself. The movie was released on October 24, 1994 by Miramax Films. It received exhilarating reviews and the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. It scored 8.9 on the IMDb meter and 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie, with a production budget of $8 million, earned 26 times more, with worldwide collections touching $212.9 million. The opening week registered close to $9 million. Pulp Fiction entered the cult club for the ease with which Tarantino showed and used violence, gore, and profanity in the film. The movie's intelligent storytelling gave the audience a visual treat that has led to its incredible reputation and popularity. Pulp Fiction made Tarantino a name to reckon with for his inimitable filmmaking technique and paved the way for independent cinema. Schindlers List, 1993. Academy Award-winning director Steven Spielberg's Schindlers List is a World War II historical drama that follows Oskar Schindler, a German businessman who rescues thousands of Jews during the Holocaust in Nazi-occupied Krakow and employs them in his factory. Based on the book Schindler's Ark by Thomas Keneally, the movie was written by Steven Zaillian, and the titular role was played by Liam Neeson. supported by veteran actors Ben Kingsley and Ralph Fiennes. The film was shot in black and white to capture the essence of that era. It was shot in real locations where the horrific events occurred, giving it a documentary-type feel. Cinematographer Janusz Kaminski ensured the efficient blending of the rawness and the atrocities of the cursed Holocaust marvelously, making it an authentic and thrilling watch. Universal Pictures released the movie on December 15, 1993, and it premiered in Germany in March 1994. The film gained a 9 out of 10 rating on IMDb and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 98%, grossing close to $322 million worldwide. Based on a true incident, Schindler's List made it to the top movies of all time due to its sensitive presentation of history's most gruesome incident to have happened to mankind. It didn't preach or victimize. Instead, it told a story of good versus evil, retaining humanness through its lead character, Oskar Schindler. In a world of color, the rustic tone maintained in the film makes this movie a tribute to the thousands who lost their lives owing to racial discrimination. Goodfellas, 1990. Martin Scorsese, known for crime dramas and gangster films, directed Goodfellas. The plot is a biographical tale about mobster Henry Hill's rise in organized crime. Based on the book Wise Guy, written by Nicholas Pileggi, who also wrote the screenplay, the movie has an incredible cast, with the lead played by Ray Liotta, along with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, who give us an inside view of the workings of mafia families in New York in the 1970s. The narrative follows quick edits, background narrations, location switches, and characteristic soundtracks to portray the violence and gore in the film in a stylized manner. Film editor Thelma Shoemaker is to be thanked for the precise editing that reflects the tension of the mob world. In the first screening, a significant number of the audience left after watching the movie's first few minutes. After a few edits, as per the MPAA guidelines, the movie premiered at the Venice Film Festival and received the Silver Lion. The movie was formally released in the United States by Warner Bros. Pictures on September 19, 1990, and received critical acclaim, grossing $47 million against a production budget of $20+ million. Martin Scorsese's deft capture of the mob world on celluloid in a manner that's as close to reality as possible makes this film one of the greatest ever. The vulnerability of the lead character, Henry Hill, who falls prey to his own drug business, is the best anti-hero portrayal in cinema. Fight Club, 1999. Known for directing psychological thrillers, David Fincher directed this movie based on Chuck Palahniuk's book. The film follows the story of an insomniac officer dissatisfied with his job who joins hands with an anarchist to form an underground fight club for young men to fight against society. The fight club gets so intense that the insomniac learns later that the anarchist was none other than his split personality. The film is headlined by Ed Norton and Brad Pitt, along with Helena Bonham Carter, who excel through their performances in creating a rebellious and antisocial world. The movie was released on October 16, 1999 by 20th Century Fox, and received extreme reactions from critics. It failed to meet box office expectations and was considered a bizarre film, but it gained commercial success when it was released in the home video format. Considered a cult classic, David Fincher's mastery of presenting a complex story through the eyes of a character who embodies angst against society makes the narrative intelligent and confusing. The constant struggle between what's an illusion and real through the lead character's narration makes this movie a phenomenally different watch. The Shashank Redemption, 1994. Known for an eclectic mix of movies, French director Frank Darabont bought the rights to Stephen King's novella Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption to direct this movie. The plot is about a banker named Andy Dufresne's time spent in prison as he laments about his wrongful conviction for killing his wife and her lover. While in prison, he gets friendly with a smuggler named Red, and together they launder money for the prison staff until Andy exposes the warden and his staff. The The lead cast included Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman, along with Bob Gunton, to name a few. Their performances were so good that they're still known for it to this day. Produced by Castle Rock Entertainment, the movie was released in September 1990 and opened to positive reviews, an IMDb rating of 9.3 and a Rotten Tomatoes score of 98%. Surprisingly, this didn't translate at the box office, bringing in a mere $16 million. The low collection was blamed on the confusing movie title and general perception of prison movies. The movie was then re-released and picked up owing to Academy Award nominations for its unique plot, screenplay, direction, editing, and soundtrack, taking up the earnings to $73 million. Why is The Shawshank Redemption considered a classic? The answer lies in the title, where an innocent man robs the evil warden's illegal earnings to escape prison. The escape is a pardon granted by the universe, and therefore a redemption. It was a triumph over evil in a surreal manner. The iconic climactic scene when the warden learns about Andy's escape is one of the most lauded cinematic moments ever. The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. Jonathan Demme directed The Silence of the Lambs based on Thomas Harris's novel. The plot is centered around an FBI trainee, Clarice Starling, looking for a serial killer named Buffalo Bill, who seeks the assistance of a noted psychiatrist, also a convicted serial killer, Hannibal Lecter, to nab the former. The cast is headlined by Academy Award winners Jodie Foster, Sir Anthony Hopkins, and Ted Levine, whose performances qualify this movie as a psychological horror thriller. Ted Tolley wrote the movie, and the haunting background score is by Howard Shore. Distributed by Orion Pictures, the movie was released in February 1990. It received a rating of 8.8 on IMDb and 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie grossed nearly $273 million worldwide and remained #1 for 5 weeks in a row. It swept the top honors at the Academy Awards that year. The late Jonathan Demme's storytelling style usually followed intense close-up shots of characters, which worked magic for a thriller such as this movie. Sir Anthony Hopkins' terrifying performance as Hannibal Lecter reinforced the horror-led narrative. Unlike scenes that set the tone of a film, in this case, the movie poster was enough to set the tone. Who can forget the iconic poster of a dragonfly on the lips of Jodie Foster? Joker, 2019. Joker is a character from the famous Batman line of DC Comics, which was made into a full-fledged movie conceived and directed by Todd Phillips. He also co-wrote the film with Scott Silver. The plot revolves around Arthur Fleck, a failed stand-up comedian and clown who has a mental disorder that leads to incessant bouts of laughter. This disorder leads him to become a violent, split-personality Joker who revolts against the rich of Gotham City. Joaquin Phoenix plays the titular role alongside Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz, and Francis Conroy. Cinematography by Lawrence Sher presents the movie in a memorable, vivid tone, especially Joker's getting up against the backdrop of city life. Warner Bros. Pictures, DC Films, and other production companies released the movie in August 2019. It opened to full houses across the globe and smashed all records, grossing over $1 billion. But it did meet with a lukewarm response on the IMDb ratings meter with 7.3 and just 68% on Rotten Tomatoes. Joker became the most debated film in recent times. It questioned the character's violent streak, but it also drew attention to mental health as an issue. Also, the makers presented Joker in isolation with no connection to the Batman series, except for adhering to some loathsome characteristics. The character's take on the moral compass of society makes it stand out amongst the scariest villains ever shown in cinema. Deadpool, 2016. Debutante director Tim Miller's Deadpool is the name of a superhero character taken from Marvel Comics and is an offshoot of the X-Men series' 8th installment. It follows the story of Wade Wilson, who develops healing powers due to an erroneous experiment by Ajax, making him invincible. Noted Hollywood actor Ryan Reynolds plays the title role and is supported by Morena Baccarin, TJ Miller, Ed Skrein, Gina Carano, and Brianna Hildebrand. The movie was released in February 2016 by 20th Century Fox and opened to rave reviews with an IMDb rating of 8 and a Rotten Tomatoes rating of 90%. It grossed $780+ million worldwide and proved to be the highest grosser of that year. Written by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, audiences lauded the cast's performances, especially Reynolds. Deadpool entered the cult club due to the character's portrayal in the movie, which stayed true to the comic's character. Deadpool's references to his favorite music band, Wham, and the ability to make fun of himself humanizes him, making him adorable. Apart from the special effects and the action, Deadpool's backstory about a man suffering from a terminal illness makes him relatable. Audiences loved rooting for him. Saving Private Ryan, 1998. The Steven Spielberg-directed Saving Private Ryan is about Captain Miller, who, along with a group of soldiers, goes looking for Private James Francis Ryan, believed to be the only surviving brother of the 4 Ryan brothers fighting in the war. Written by Robert Rodat, the movie is inspired by the events during World War II in Normandy and the war stories documented by Stephen E. Ambrose in his books. The film is headlined by Tom Hanks and Matt Damon, along with Vin Diesel and Adam Goldberg, to name a few. To present an accurate account of the war moments, cinematographer Janusz Kaminski used several techniques to give the feel of a battlefield, and John Williams replicated battle sounds with precision, such as gunshots, explosions, and so on. The movie was released in July 1998 and grossed over $480 million in worldwide collections. It got critical acclaim and won awards at the Academy and Golden Globes. Saving Private Ryan set the trend on how a war movie is made. It meticulously covered the brutality of war and presented its poignant and terrifying aspects. The plot is a tale of humanity and faith in the goodness of people, making it one of the best war stories in cinema. The Departed, 2006. The Departed is an inside view of the nexus between cops and the underworld, wherein the South Boston police force plants Billy Costigan to bust an American-Irish gang headed by Frank Costello, but finds a mole, later revealed to be Colin Sullivan, in the system obstructing the nab. The movie's directed by a man who has the last word when telling stories about the mob world, Martin Scorsese. The lead cast includes veteran Jack Nicholson alongside Matt Damon and Leonardo DiCaprio, which led to electrifying performances by each of them. The Departed was written by William Monahan, Alan Mack, and Felix Chong, who drew inspiration from real-life Irish mobster James Whitey Bulger and a Hong Kong film named Internal Affairs. The movie was released in September 2006 and grossed over $290 million. It met with critical acclaim, scoring 8.3 on the IMDb rating meter and 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie swept top honors at the Academy Awards that year as well. The Departed's narrative, the soundtrack by Howard Shore, and Scorsese's understanding of the world, along with stellar casting and realistic portrayals of the situations, make it one of the best movies ever made on the theme of betrayal. American History X, 1998. American History X is an engrossing tale of 2 brothers who are neo-Nazis, such that the older one is serving time for killing 2 black men. The younger brother, a school student, shows his antagonistic streak and is asked to write an essay on his imprisoned brother. The movie is written by David McKenna, who drew inspiration from events in his childhood. The movie's stars, Edward Norton and Edward Furlong, give performances of a lifetime, portraying hatred and repentance with aplomb. New Line Cinema released the film in October 1998 with a limited release first, and then got a wider release after a positive response. The film grossed over $23 million. On the IMDb rating meter, the movie scored 7.3 and 84% on Rotten Tomatoes. Tony Kaye's bold direction of a controversial theme with sensitivity makes this movie exceptional. It will remain one of the top movies to have left a mark on the issue of racism. It's a movie that's not preachy, yet leaves you thinking. A lesson is learned at the end of it. The movie made it to the list of educational films shown at schools in the USA to combat white supremacist influences. The Exorcist, 1973. The Exorcist is an American supernatural horror film that's made it to the list of horror masterpieces. Director William Friedkin takes us through a story that's about a young girl who gets possessed by an unknown being and now needs to be rescued through exorcism with the help of 2 Catholic priests. William Peter Blatty wrote the movie, adapted from his novel of the same name. The movie stars lesser-known actors Linda Blair, Max von Sydow, and Jason Miller, who acted their parts with precision. Unlike other horror films, the movie was shot in natural light by cinematographer Owen Roitzman, and the haunting background sound effects were given by Ron Nagel, Doc Siegel, Gonzalo Gavira, and Bob Fine. The movie had a small release in December 1973 in about 25 theaters. It opened to a mixed response. However, strong word of mouth escalated viewership across the United States, making the movie gross $193 million with a lifetime collection of over $440 million. The Exorcist remains a cult classic in the horror genre because, before this, no one had experienced a cinematic presentation of possession. It's a movie that added a lot of firsts to its name. It was the first movie in this genre to be nominated at the Academy Awards. The film was so powerful and scary that there were rumors of unusual incidents occurring during the viewing in theaters. The audience came out barfing, screaming, and some even fainted. Requiem for a Dream, 2000. Requiem for a Dream is one of the earlier films directed by Darren Aronofsky, known for his surreal narratives. The movie's about four individuals, an aging widow, her drug peddler son, his girlfriend, and his friend, who all fall prey to drug addiction in different ways that lead to self-destruction. Thespian Ellen Burstyn headlines the movie alongside Jared Leto, Jennifer Connelly, and Marlon Wayans, who are superseded in their performances as people with an addiction. The film's based on a novel of the same name, authored by Hubert Selby Jr., who co-wrote the screenplay with Aronofsky. The movie premiered in May at the Cannes Film Festival and later got a wide theatrical release. Critics loved the film. It grossed over $7 million and got an IMDb rating of 7.4. On Rotten Tomatoes, it scored 78%. Requiem of a Dream remains a cult classic due to its difficult subject that's told skillfully through smart editing and cinematography. Jay Rabinowitz's editing is an art that follows specific techniques such as hip-hop montages, sharp cuts, and wide-angle shots to show the mental state of the four addicts, a constant tussle between fantasy and realism.
But that's going to change. I'm going to change. This is the last of that sort.
Trainspotting, 1996. Trainspotting follows the story of a person with a heroin addiction, Mark Renton, wanting to give up his addiction and how it affects the people around him. The movie is directed by British filmmaker Danny Boyle, known for black comedies, and written by John Hodge. The film's based on a novel by Irvine Welsh of the same name. Ewan McGregor headlines the movie alongside Ewan Bremner and Kelly MacDonald, to name a few. It was first released in Britain, followed by a screening at the Cannes Film Festival where it was declared a hit. It was then released in North America, grossing over $70 million worldwide. It met with critical acclaim, with critics calling it one of the best British films of all time. Danny Boyle's characteristic usage of music, an assortment of British pop in the film, further adds to the madness of the storytelling. Trainspotting's trippy perspective through the character's eyes is exemplary, making it one of the best movies about addiction. The underbelly of Edinburgh, where the movie was set, qualifies as another character in the film. The movie instantly gathered a cult following post-release and is considered to be the most profitable film-based investment. Gladiator, 2000. Sir Ridley Scott directed this epic period drama about an aging Roman emperor's wish to make his powerful general Maximus his heir. This is met with resistance from the emperor's son, leading to a power struggle where Maximus finds himself in the deathly ring of the Gladiator games. Will he rise or fail? Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix headline the movie in the lead and give award-worthy performances, making Crowe win an Academy Award. The film was penned by David Franzoni, John Logan, and William Nicholson. Their writing was influenced by a novel that went under the name Those About to Die. The movie was released in May 2000 by Universal Pictures and smashed all records of that year. It was met with a box office collection of over $187 million and a lifetime collection of $465 million. Gladiator entered the list of timeless classics ever made due to the visual style and authentic narrative presentation from an era as old as AD 180. The grandeur of the battle arenas, the politics of the Roman Senate, a powerful antagonist, and the fight of an enslaved person who was once a powerful general made this movie engrossing and helped make it unforgettable. The theme of revenge has never been mounted on such a grand scale in films. Black Swan, 2010. Darren Aronofsky's psychological drama, The Black Swan, is about a ballerina named Nina who's cast as the lead in Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake and pushed to a corner to excel in representing both the innocent white swan and the evil black swan. The portrayal moves her to the wrong side of evil. The cast included Natalie Portman, Mila Kunis, and Vincent Cassel, whose performances in the portrayal of ballerinas and an instructor were the best of their kind, earning Natalie Portman an Academy Award for Best Actress. The movie was written by a team of 3 screenwriters, Heyman, McLaughlin, and Hine, based on a premise conceived by Aronofsky. The music was based on Tchaikovsky's original composition. Black Swan premiered that year at the Venice Film Festival and had a small release. The positive reviews made the makers give it a wider release in December 2010, leading to a box office collection of over $320 million. It received an IMDb rating of 8.2 and 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. Many call Black Swan a psychological horror film, especially referring to it as a body horror film wherein the protagonist hurts herself knowingly in several scenes, the bleeding feet and scratches. The complexity of the character's inner conflict as she travels to a surreal level is enhanced with makeup, music, and dance, making this movie an all-time great. Django Unchained, 2012. Director Quentin Tarantino's Western, also referred to as a spaghetti Western, is set in 1858, where a bounty hunter named Schultz frees a slave named Django for a task. On completion of the task, Django sets out to find his wife, who is sold as an enslaved person. The stellar cast included Leonardo DiCaprio, Jamie Foxx, Kerry Washington, Christopher Waltz, and Samuel L. Jackson. Tarantino wrote the film while writing a book about Italian filmmaker Sergio Corbucci. This movie boasted some lilting soundtracks, the Django theme song being one of them. Corbucci's movies influenced Tarantino's writing for this movie. The film was released in December 2012, grossing nearly $426 million at the box office. It rated 8.5 on the IMDb rating meter and 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie entered the cult club in the way a serious subject like slavery was handled. Tarantino maintains an unapologetic tone, using violence, nudity, and racial slurs to put forth a point. None of it felt offensive or annoying, and most importantly, the poignancy associated with the movie's theme wasn't lost. It was layered and effective storytelling with oodles of style. The Wolf of Wall Street, 2013. Martin Scorsese directed The Wolf of Wall Street based on penny stockbroker Jordan Belfort's memoir following his rise on Wall Street. He is known to have inflated stock prices through orchestrated claims and sold it at artificially created high prices. His illegal means made him rise until he was exposed. The screenplay was written by Terrence Winter, and the cast is headlined by Leonardo DiCaprio, Jonah Hill, Matthew McConaughey, and Margot Robbie, who used their acting prowess to deliver with a bang. The movie was released in December 2013 and grossed nearly $407 million in worldwide collections. Critics, however, condemned the profanity and nudity used in the film. It rated 8.2 on the IMDb rating meter and 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. The Wolf of Wall Street remains a classic that deftly presents the most renowned addiction, money, and what it can do to us. Scorsese exposes us to Jordan's flashy lifestyle and how shrewdly he manipulates the stock market, almost glorifying robbing until the audience plummets into Jordan's self-created grave. It feels like a joyride, and suddenly, it's not joy anymore, making it a coming-of-age movie. Sustaining this pace requires a craft that only Scorsese could have delivered. Logan, 2017. James Mangold directed Logan, the final installment of the Wolverine trilogy. It's set in 2029, where an aging Logan lives a quiet life in a world where mutants have gone extinct until his life is stirred up with the entry of a runaway mutant child, Laura. Who is she? And why does she need to be rescued from the narrative? The movie's headlined by Hugh Jackman alongside Patrick Stewart and Richard E. Grant, to name a few who were lauded for their performances. The film premiered at Berlinale in February 2017 and then got a wide release in March 2017. The movie received rave reviews for its deft direction and the emotional intensity shown in the film. The screenplay is engaging, penned by Scott Frank, James Mangold, and Michael Green. The movie grossed nearly $619 million in worldwide collections and rated 8.1 on the IMDb meter and 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Logan breaks out of all the tropes of a superhero film and follows a more serious route to tell the tale. Here is a retired superhero who's the only student left in the Xavier School, wherein he takes care of his professor, a role reversal. From being a man with superpowers, Logan's story is that of an underdog who has to break all odds to succeed. Marvelous verdict. And that was our list of the top 20 R-rated greats. And if it matches your list, there are more reasons for us to hang out. But we'll leave you here until next time. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.